I'm preparing to sell my house after 10 years of ownership, and I wanted to go over 3 or 4 attic tips that I would recommend to a new homeowner, things that I did and I'm glad that I did, and a couple things that I didn't do that I wish I had. First thing is, when I bought the house, first thing I did was put up this shelving here in the attic. The previous homeowner had laid things down across the ceiling joists and smashed down the insulation, which I'll talk about in a moment, and I didn't want to keep doing that, and so I created these shelves. They're not super pretty, and my woodworking skills were not so great back then. I was really a noob, but basically 2x4 with some metal Simpson strong ties down to the ceiling joists. And then this was basically the largest, thickest, cheapest OSB that I could find. It is the type with the tongue and groove. It was very heavy and hard to get up here, but it never gave any signs of weakness. In fact, you can walk on this stuff, no problem. All of these boards were already up here. The people had kind of just laid them out. And so I created more or less a hallway or a walkway so that when we come up from into the attic, there's just really safe, easy walking. All the boards are screwed down so no one would fall through the ceiling. And although this does hurt the insulation value a little bit, it was already damaged by the previous homeowner, and I decided it was worth it. The second thing I would recommend doing, and I regret not doing this sooner, it took me about 18 months before I did it, was adding this foam insulative barrier. So this is only about 1/4 of an inch thick. I got this on Amazon. You can custom fit them to your door going up to the attic, but this makes an enormous difference. I've not taken measurements from a thermal perspective, but in the summer, when you are at the top of this ladder and you unzip it, the difference between the interior home temperature and the attic temperature is intense. And here in winter, you can sense that same intensity. Without that, even though you have a wooden lid or a wooden door, you have almost no insulative value at all. That is an upgrade worth doing. My home inspector told me to do it, and I put it off, and I highly regretted it. The next thing that I did, when I bought the house, all there was this light switch and this light right here. But I added some cheap fluorescent lights that I had in the garage that I upgraded to LED, and it just made being up here a lot more pleasant because you could easily see things without a headlamp or flashlight or something like that. The last thing that I'm doing today that I wish I had done before was bring up a garden rake. So in this area, the previous homeowner, and probably to some extent also us, we smashed down the insulation. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like here. Hopefully you can see that this is just like really smushed. Even when you try and take it up, it kind of comes up in these big layers, whereas it's supposed to be very light and fluffy. Now, you may not have this insulation type, but if you do, then this tip is for you. So basically the way insulation works is it traps air. That's why you want a big poofy jacket, and that's why you want this to be essentially as high as possible. So when you smash it down, it's less effective. And I was doing some work in one of the corners over there today and just realized how I had kind of left my mark and didn't really want to do that. So I brought up a garden rake, and what I've been doing, which has been very, very effective, is you go into a section, and this one's kind of a bad example because the hole's here. Let me move over here. You go into a section, and I'm gonna do this with one hand, but you basically pull it out, okay? And in the process of pulling it out, you're kind of agitating it. You wanna be careful. There's gonna be in some cases, there's gonna be wires in here. You don't wanna tear up the wires. A plastic rake is probably a superior choice to metal, but you basically just agitate the area and pull a lot of it out like this, and then redistribute it. It's kind of tricky to do with one hand, but redistribute it, and you can be more uniform in your distribution so that the whole area is better. Now, it looks better than that when you're done. You may be able to tell that the loft is improved. It's not quite as good as this, which I already did more thoroughly. I just did a quick demonstration with one hand, but it makes a big difference. At the end of the day, loft is really what matters. It also kind of covers up where you've been working. Not that you did anything wrong, but when you go into an attic or something, you don't want to see, oh, someone's been over there rummaging around. And this allows you to kind of cover your tracks a little bit so that it looks more uniform and that you get more uniform heating. So anyway, hope those tips were helpful for someone out there. If you wasted 4 minutes and 55 seconds watching this and you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down. That way I know. Other than that, have a great day, folks.